Hey, welcome to Truth Tuesday with Pastor Josh. Truth is the true and actual state of a matter. It is conformity with fact or reality. It is verified. It's the real deal. Let's look at what that means today on Truth Tuesday. What are you doing? That's the question today. What are you doing? Have you ever had a child say something like that to you? And maybe they said it in a different tone. Maybe they said, "What are you doing?" Or "What are you doing?" I know that our son asks those kinds of questions all the time, like, "What are you doing?" He's very inquisitive into life, and a lot of this is fresh for him and new for him. As a 7-year-old, gonna be 8 this year. If you remember our interview, he made that very plain that he's gonna be 8 this year. But life is still very, very new to him. There's a lot of things he hasn't seen before, and so he's asking those questions. What are you doing? Trying to understand. Really the reason. Because even at a young age, we want to know the reason for what we do. And, even in our lives, I believe that that's important questions for us to ask. This week and next week, we're going to be asking some questions to help challenge us to let God do an internal work inside of us. And so asking this question, what are you doing, can be a challenging one because it speaks to purpose and opportunity and design. What are you doing? You can look at that a lot of different ways. You can look at it with, some of the things that you do in your spare time. You could look at it from the perspective of maybe occupationally, the job that you're in. What is it that you're doing? But it's kind of that inquisitive, what are you doing? If I was to ask you that, which I guess I just did, how would you respond? Would you feel like what you're doing in life right now, whether it be occupationally, with the rhythms of life, the choices you're making, do you feel like it's matching up with the question we asked yesterday? The question was, who are you becoming? Does it match up to who you want to become? Because the things we do ultimately position us for God to continue to work in us who we're becoming. Now, the doing isn't a part of the being, in the aspect of it can't create our being, but from who we are flows a lot of what we do, what we believe. Because what we do has a very close tie to what we believe. And so it's important to ask, what are you doing? Because sometimes who we're becoming and what we're doing can be out of sync. And it causes problems. It causes frustration. It causes really a chafing, almost like an out of alignment in a car. It causes you to pull one way or the other. And I think it's a lot of the struggle from people wanting to become like Christ and trying to go that direction, but then a lot of the things that they do and they put their hands to doesn't facilitate and doesn't create opportunities for that to happen. And so really this is an aligning of our lives with the Spirit of God, with what He wants to do in us. And so what are you doing? What are you engaging in? What are you giving your hands to? What is important to you? Peter tells us in 1 Peter that we are to be ready to give an answer for the reason, to the hope that we have in Christ. We need to be ready to give an answer when the question comes. And so really, what we're doing should have something to do with making Him known somehow, with being a witness. Really that's what our biggest aim in this side of life is, for us to be a witness. It's one of the real reasons why we're still here, and not just hanging out with God in heaven, in the place of His dwelling, because there's still work to be done here. And so I could see God asking us, what are you doing? Because we know that there's a purpose. We know that there's a reason for why we're here. And it's not just to clock in and clock out. It's not just to go from one day to the next. It's not just to
to create a life for ourselves. It's greater than that. It's bigger than that. It's really to somehow display hope, not only with who we're becoming, but what we're doing. And so, my challenge to you today is what you're doing matching up with who you're becoming? And maybe if who you're becoming isn't who you want to be, and and who you're becoming isn't what Christ wants you to be, then we got to deal with that, right? And what we're doing probably has a lot to do with that. Has a lot to do with how that process is going forward. And so I encourage you today, ask that question: what am I doing? And begin asking some hard questions about those things that you're doing, and see what God will do with where you're at right now. Because honestly, we want what we do to make a difference. We want what we do to make an impact. We want to know that we're on mission, that we're on purpose. And so this is one of those questions that help us with that. And so this has been Truth Tuesday with Pastor Josh. Thanks for tuning in today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue asking some really tough questions